Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Representative Gonzalez and Scott Jennings are doing their best to calm down these frightened CNN panelists who think that we're about to invade Canada. But before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our great sponsors over at All Family Pharmacy, but more on that later. Now, let's dive in.
He even gets in that
Okay,
spot,
so
which I think is a good thing.
Let's follow this along the logical lines, right? Everything is on the table, including using military force to take control over another country, maybe two. So when China says, I'm just going to take Taiwan because it's in our national security interests, and they have national security resources that we need, we're going to say, okay.
I don't think he necessarily is saying we're going to take it by military force. What he's saying is, the way I interpret it is Denmark's a pretty cool place. It'd be a whole lot cooler if they sold it to the United States, right? It's just, he's having some fun with it. I think his policies are going to be, America is back. We are so back, meaning everyone is on notice. The world is on notice. Donald Trump is letting the world know he's not messing around. He's not even in office yet. And once again, everything's on the table from a foreign policy standpoint.
But America is not an expansionist military power, not in the 21st century.
Why?
Okay? Because that's
Why not?
Because that's not the world that we live in.
Wait, hold on, Scott.
I know.
You answered that question.
Yes.
Why is the United States not?
So you're for attacking Greenland?
Why is the
Scott? Is that
United
what you're
States
saying?
not an
I said-
expansionist military power?
I said you're open
Why?
to the idea of attacking Greenland?
We created.
we don't need to attack Greenland. We could buy it.
We can't buy it. It's not up for sale.
We
So
helped
what you're saying
create
is not
a world
true.
order.
Nothing.
in which-
Everything's not for sale until
Hang
it
on,
is.
Scott. We helped create a world order in which we said you cannot just decide you want that country and then take your military and go into that country and take it. Okay, so that is the era of not being in an expansionist military era for the United States. And you're saying that's not true. Why is it not true?
Well, I mean, you could think small if you want to. I think Trump's thinking big, and he's thinking about U.S. interests. There are U.S. interests in Greenland. They have rare earth minerals. We already have some kind of space facility there, and it would help fortify us against the Russians. The Panama Canal is, of course, of interest when you consider the Chinese incursions and influence in this hemisphere. What Donald Trump is saying to the world is, we are not a shrinking violet anymore. We are the United States of America. We are the preeminent superpower. And reporters keep asking him to rule things out and take things off the table. And it would be the height of stupidity to do so now or to anything else before he takes office. Why would he tell the rest of the world what he may or may not do?
It really is that simple. If you want to tell someone what your foreign policy plan is, you tell an ambassador. You tell a close aide. You might tell a close friend at a DC cocktail party, and you might be able to work out a solution later. Seriously, that actually helped solve the Cuban Missile Crisis. But you don't tell a reporter, particularly modern reporters. Like I said, back during the Cuban Missile Crisis, if you leaked it to the press, they might give you a pass because that was in the golden era of of American news, because that was back when they still respected the office. Ever since All the President's Men and Nixon in 1974 and what he did in Watergate, the press has just kind of run wild ever since then and has never really asked themselves, should we be, muckraking journalists, or should we actually report the news? Because if they were caring about the news, they would look at the Greenland situation and just ask themselves and then tell their audience, okay, here are the questions we're asking. Here's the solutions that we've come up with. Here's what we think he's trying to do. So, number one, if the United States buys Greenland, here's what happens. Basically, the international waters between Canada and Denmark, which currently owns Greenland, gets a reset, which it desperately needs because the Russians, the United States, Great Britain, and other nations have abused the International Waters Treaty and forced the passage up there between that island and the other islands of Canada. And it's made it into this legal mess where it's no longer waters protected by either country. It's now international waters. At least legally speaking, you can make that case. If Trump buys Greenland, that whole situation resets, and now you're going to have to pay a toll to either Canada or the US. Hey, y'all. You've heard about ivermectin, the medication that's been under fire for simply helping people during COVID. Why? Because they don't want you in control of your own health. If you're wondering where to get it, let me tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They make it easy to access ivermectin. It's high quality, made in the USA, none of that imported nonsense from India or China. They even handle the prescription for you and ship it straight to your door. Let's face it, Your freedom to choose your own healthcare is under attack. Leaders like RFK Jr. have been warning us, and they're right. Don't sit back and let the system decide for you what you can and can't have. And it's not just ivermectin. All Family Pharmacy offers over 200 medications. Whether you need ivermectin or something else, they've got you covered. Make America healthy again. Visit allfamilypharma.com/brawl and use coupon code BRAWL10 for 10% off of your order. Stock up today and secure your supply. Then look at where Greenland sits, okay? So if Canada is right about here, Greenland is up here, okay? It's really just that simple. It sits above Canada. And because we keep on talking about, maybe Canada should be the 51st state. I mean, that's been a goal since the Founding Fathers tried to invade it. We don't talk about what we do in Canada because it's sort of our biggest military blunder, so we don't like talking about it here in the States. Canadians, however, love reminding us of that fact, to which we remind them that the majority of their nation is within 100 miles of our border. Stop talking smack or we'll smack you back. Of course, we're joking around here, but we would love to partake in this wonderful tradition of Canadian beer and a good Canadian maple syrup. Maybe you can teach us how to play better hockey, but you're going to have to teach this Southern boy how to be on skates. So it's going to be a very interesting cultural exchange if we ever do annex part of Canada, which, by the way, if you talk to folks out in Alberta and Saskatchewan, they are not too opposed to the idea. British Columbia and the crazy folks in Quebec and on the other side of Niagara Falls, they might have some different opinions, but agree to disagree. But really, we're joking around when we're talking about invading Greenland or invading Canada because it's something that's just funny. Remember, when conservatives tell a joke or conservatives get hyperbolic, we're not trying to be taken literally, we're just trying to make a point and be taken seriously. And that's what leftists don't understand. When they're being hyperbolic, they want to be taken literally. That's because leftists know so much that it isn't so. They're so open-minded that their brains tend to sort of ooze out. And so there's an even bigger reason why we'd actually want Greenland and parts of Canada, because one, the Canadian Shield is just chock full of minerals all the way up into the Yukon. There's a reason why there was a gold rush out there, and there are other minerals to be mined, and it's tough to get out there. Same thing in Greenland. There's apparently, due to, I think, sonar or some sort of a revolution in ground technology and geology, they're able to penetrate through the ice. There's a canyon bigger than the Grand Canyon throughout the entire island of Greenland, okay? It's a wild kind of geography out there. So there's rare earth minerals out there to be mined. There's some oil and gas reserves, as a matter of fact. And of course, there's what I mentioned with international trade. And that affects two other major parts of the Western Hemisphere, the Panama Canal and the Drake Passage. The Drake Passage is between Argentina and Chile and Antarctica, and that's one of the most dangerous places for a boat to go through, even in modern times. And then the Panama Canal, well, due to Chinese influences and the fact that this area has been receiving less and less rainfall, the reason the canal works is because of two lake systems that pump the water through so the boats can get through the locks and the dams. And so, if there's a passage, often noted as the Northwest Passage, to get around these areas, we're going to be looking forward as the Earth continues to get a little bit warmer. And so, we're going to want that sweet, sweet toll money. You want to know how the Baltic nations make their money? It's either offshore drilling through oil, like Norway, or you have to get through all these islands that are controlled by Denmark and you just pay them a toll. That's why Denmark doesn't really do anything. Everyone just pays them a little bit of money and no one's ever really taxed there because of all this extra money rolling in. Although that's actually not true. They're a pretty heavily taxed nation. But they also get to skim off the top pretty easily, so that's why people are usually either really, really happy in Denmark or super depressed. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the insane response to this attempt to take Greenland and the jokes about Canada, but the real attempt to retake the Panama Canal. I think the Greenland and Panama Canal stories are linked. And for some reason, these other panelists, not named Gonzalez and not named Scott Jennings, they're panicking. They're worried that, oh, America's going to be this fascist dystopia. We're going to be an imperialistic country. We can't be like this. We'll be just like Russia. We'll be just like China. No, we're not. We're wanting to buy these places, and we're wanting to reform some things that are getting abused on the international scale. And so, the fact that these people don't understand what's really going on, and they're really just projecting their greatest fears or their greatest perversions, and that's the fact that they would love a totalitarian-style government to silence all the little peons that they think that they're smarter than, and that they think they're really above. Because remember, rich white liberals who watch CNN still think that they live in this ivory tower, and they wonder why the people below them really don't like them when they're, living above and wondering why do these people think they're equal to me? That's the sort of mindset that they have. So ultimately, these folks really need to take a chill pill, and Scott Jennings and Rep. Gonzalez are doing their best to assuage their fears, but ultimately, when it comes to Canada, I think they deserve a little bit more red, white, and blue. And ultimately, when it comes to Greenland, I think Vizini was right from Princess Bride. You want to send me back to where you were? Unemployed? In Greenland? No one wants that. Ultimately, I think that these people deserve to be Americans. I think they deserve better protection. And you know what? I think everyone could benefit from this idea. And after all, who wants to be unemployed in Greenland? Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And until then, y'all have a good one.